All right, it's a very special Thursday on the Rick Corey Sports Special for a lot of reasons. That dude right there you're looking at is the GOAT. That's Bill Blankenship, and
Wow.
somehow he's back as the head coach in high school football. First thing I have to ask is, when you retired, did
Yeah.
you really think you'd coach again?
Not like this. I really thought I would, come alongside and, like a little bit, Rick, and you know this. I didn't really coach, but with Josh coaching, I got to go over and was at practice every day and got to hang out and sit around in the coach's office. And that piece of it, I knew I wanted to keep doing. Um, and some version of coaching I knew was in me, but I also wanted the ability to chase my grandkids around and do that. So no, the short version, and that's a long answer, but I didn't see this coming. But the perfect wave hits every once in a while.
And I think you certainly knew when Antonio took the job that it wasn't going to be his last one. He was
Oh, absolutely.
he was going to
Sure.
elevate. It's just a little unusual it was this fast.
Right.
When
Right.
you saw Kirk had retired,
Uh-huh.
I don't know about you, but I think all the rest of us went, "Oh, here's what's going to happen." Did you think the same?
Well, yeah, I didn't. That wasn't hard because Emily Barkley, our friend, when we hired Antonio, is like, I mean, and she was kind of just popping off, but she's like, well, whenever Coach Fred's done, just know I'm coming to get him, and ha ha ha, and so forth and so on. But so I don't think it was a not a crazy move on her part by any stretch, but also not completely surprising. Um, didn't expect, frankly, that it would happen like it did. But holy cow, happy for Antonio and just he's back home, as we all know. I mean, that's where he cut his teeth and grew up, and so many people influenced his life, and he just wants to give back. And so I know he loves that place. And seriously, kudos to Emily and the crew over there because they did a great job of making it a job for him.
Yeah, she may have laughed, but you knew she was serious too.
Right,
No
right.
question about that. It's okay. Once that happened, how quickly did you get a call and tell me how that process went? Because I know
Oh,
Angie had to be involved here.
oh, absolutely. The speed of which all of this happened is almost mind numbing, and I'm not sure I've got my head around it yet. Um, as you and I are talking, I haven't. I go to the board this afternoon to actually become official, assuming they make it official. Um, so we're still in hyperdrive, warp speed, trying to figure it all out. I had certainly been around, um, but I actually drove to the state championship game with Coach Duffield, um, and had just this just what we used to do, and so it was kind of a fun thing to do. Um, Nothing officially had happened, but we all were in the you know what happens if, and I'm like, well, you need to do this and this and this, and this was kind of strategy. And I think he believed, as did I, that we're talking a week or two down the road, before he had to really get on board. And I made the not uncharacteristic for me, because I do pop off a lot. As you've been around me, Rick, I've got a lot of satire, sarcasm, I guess I should say. Um, I had, and there's some truth to this, so I'm gonna couch the story first. Of the truth is, when we were talking about how are we going to make the transition from my retirement to Antonio, it was going to be more of a I like the model that Bob Stoops and Lincoln Riley did. One press conference, let's pass the torch. Let's don't have an empty seat. Let's just go ahead and make sure everybody knows that there's a transition here and we're all going forward. And so I had worked that with the administration and the board, and it all seemed to work. So I had in my mind this model. So, and we're driving And at some point in time, Duff's like, well, what happens if we have to go back to square one? And I said, well, Bob Stoops came back, and so I was like, and then I completely tried to throw it back in my mouth, because that wasn't what I was trying to offer to him. And then he called me Saturday or Sunday after he had talked to Antonio and knew that they were actually visiting, and said, look, we need to figure out a way to, for you to help stabilize this thing if something happens. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because I still don't really believe he's going to leave. I think we're going to be able to keep him at Owasso and things stay like they are. And so I kind of popped off and got ahead of myself. And then it all happened so fast. And Angie was in on it. She really was. I'm not real sure why. I think that probably tells you a little bit about my not great effort at retirement, maybe, or hanging around with her. But she understands our calling, and I make fun about it. But I'm built for this, to coach, and I love those kids. And it's fortunate for me that I know what's going on at Owasso. I know the players. I know the staff. In fact, I met with them yesterday. There's maybe one coach and plus Dane Evans that I didn't hire. And I was actually still in the consulting phase with them when they hired Dane, because I kind of brought him to them. And so, it's not like, I have to go in and start all over and, figure out exactly what to do. I really am confident with the staff we have. I am quite confident that people are going to be picking from them. That happened to us every year. Yep. And certainly Coach Graham will try to do the same, as he should. And I really, some people, I know I'm getting random on you on all this stuff, but this is all part of the discussion that goes into me and Angie. And we just feel like it's still time to keep investing in our kids and our staff and the place over there that's been so good to me. And so if I can help them, and they want, I was blown away that they really want me back. Now, I mean, people say nice things, but they don't, they can take advantage of the fact that, you stepped away. And so let's go a different direction. And Dr. Coates and Zach Duffield were more than gracious and just trying to say, can we find a way for you to come back and do this some more? And so I did. And, Rick, people have referred to it as an interim job. And I'm not being coy when I say this, but I tell you what's happened the more I've coached, we're all interim. I mean, and that's what I think people have done. And so I told the staff that yesterday. They're like, well, how long? I said, well, I don't have a timetable. And I'm just telling you, I'm here to coach. And I'm not here to be a bridge. I'm here to coach. And I want to go forward with it. But don't think for a minute that we're not all interim. I mean, go around the area and look at the changes that happened this year at Broken Arrow, Jinx, Union, and Owasso. And just come on now, and University of Tulsa, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just embracing the fact that this is a great time for me. And I'm excited to be an Owasso Ram, and we're going back to work.
And it's going to seem so familiar, obviously walking right back in there. I want to ask a style question. So
okay.
You had your thing, and Antonio told me in the very first interview I had with him after you had moved on and he was there, he said, I'm going to put my stamp on it too, and coaches too. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to put your stamp back again.
Yeah.
How does this work with kids and teams and mold and, kind of a flow? Because there is something to all those things.
There's no question. I think it's some ways harder on players and coaches, and kids. But in other ways, I will tell you, over the years, they are the most resilient to change. It's most of us adults that struggle when change happens to us. Players want to know that you care about them and that you're going to be there for their good. And if they become convinced of that, The method to that is not as big a deal to them as, do they think you're fake? Do they think you're, um, you know, telling us stuff that you don't really believe? And I just think that AG did it right. In fact, that was some of my counsel to him. Try to be me. I mean, you've got to be you. And I think that's true for every coach. You know, if they're a new head coach, you got to be you. But also, you know, you don't have to blow up things that don't need to be blown up. And, you know, just to say, well, I've fixed it. No. And he did a great job of maintaining our program. And I will tell you, I already told the staff this. You know, one of the things that happens on a vacation, sabbatical, semi-retirement, whatever you want to call what I've done the last year, is I got to go to a lot of places, and I got to see a lot of ball and a lot of practice at other places. And I'm telling you, even after 40 years, I've got things I want to do differently, and ways to do it that I think can be better. So, yeah, it'll get back to my style, but I don't know that we were a long ways away from it. It's just they're not going to have AG style, and I think we'll be all right.
That year in there, you know, and I mean, it was June, so a few months myself into this. There is some rejuvenation that comes with that, and the ability to look around outside what your box was.
Right.
What were some of your biggest takeaways when you did go to practice and do those things? What'd you find?
Well, there's just a lot more than, and I actually learned this going into the college ranks, because I had been pretty much my own head coach, and the way I had done things for 22 years prior to getting some involvement. Working for Todd Graham enlightened me in a lot of ways. There are things I've said many times. There are things that I would never do that he did. But I'm telling you, I learned a lot about what I'm doing today from some of the really good things he did, and the methods and the way we taught. Same thing happened when I went to Memphis. I had never been around Justin Fuente as the coach and the leader. And oh my gosh, there's things that he brought to the table and ways he did things that I have done ever since. I got to go to a lot of college games. I got to go to some college practices this past year. I was at BA a lot and saw how they do things. And, you know, no matter what anybody else thinks, there were a lot of positives that take from what they were doing that I had never done, and ways to be better. I was fortunate to get to be involved, and I hate to use the term mentoring too loosely, but involved with Coach Rice, Andrew Rice, who was out at Southwestern, and got to be at their practices a few times. And he's a new head coach, and oh my gosh, stuff they were doing. I'm like, you know, and it's not it's not like reinventing football. Right. But there are just little ways to do things that maybe we can coach a little better and translate to the game. And so I told the staff yesterday, the bad news is I know y'all are worn out from a long season. Good news is I've had a year of vacation, and I'm ready to go. And so I'm probably going to push a little bit.
I can see that happening now. As you mentioned, people are going to try to pick and choose some coaches, which means you have to have a short list too, which I'm assuming you're working on. I'm not going to ask for names. They give them to me anyway, and I understand that. But you got to be thinking those things, right?
Absolutely. You know, but Rick, that's something that I would go through every year. You know, if you've got a good program, people want to poach good coaches.
And if you want your coaches, you're not doing it right.
No. And the downside of that is, if it's not going real good, people won't take them from you, and you need to get rid of some. And that's not a problem here. So I fully expect, you know, the Bobby Clinks of the world, that we were able to be a part of moving them into those roles. You know, Levy Adcock's done a great job recently. You know, we've got coaches everywhere that came through our system a little bit, and I'm not trying to say, hey, great job. It's just, I think there's several potential head coaches in the room that I met with yesterday, and certainly guys that can coordinate offenses and defenses that may not have had the opportunity yet. So, you know, if it's better for them, I'm going to celebrate it. and I'm going to go try to find somebody better than them to take their place, which is always like, people will go, "Ooh, that doesn't sound good." Well, when again, learning, Rick, my experience of college was figuring out that I might have my first year, I had a group of receivers in the room. And first of all, how many of y'all were all staters? And all, they all were really good. I said, "Do y'all know what my job is?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, coach us." And I said, "Also, and to recruit guys better than you." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm looking for guys better than you. You know what your job is? To work so hard, I can't possibly find somebody better than you. And if we do that, then we got the magic." And so that's kind of way I am with our staff. I'm going to celebrate it if we lose guys. I'm going to be happy for them, but I'm going to work my tail off to go try to find somebody better. I don't know that we can, but that's my job, is to try to upgrade it and keep it going.
And by the way, I could not be happier for Bobby Klink and what he has
Oh
done.
yeah,
His
100%.
You mentioned him, and there was a time I was with you and your team. I think it was 82-8 or something like that over there, and running clock. I think almost in the middle of the second quarter. And what has happened from those times to what
Yeah.
Bobby has done now and the reinvestment, isn't it brilliant?
It is awesome, and he really is the architect over there, and got his. I don't know. You just talk about a culture that he's developed,
Yes.
and his staff. He took a couple of our coaches with him when he did that. Jake Bray is still there. Stephen Hogan had gone over. Stephen's now, I just talked to him. He's down in Greenwood now as their offensive guy. But I'm like, that's the joy of coaching for me, is to see guys go get out of the nest and go become great.
And boy, you said Greenwood. If people don't know, look up Greenwood, Arkansas, what Rick Jones had done over there.
Yeah.
My wife's hometown, as a matter of fact.
I didn't remember that. So the tie-in there was Hogan had played for Rick, and I inherited him when I he was a first-year coach when I went to Owasso in 2017.
Gotcha.
And became our quarterbacks coach and did all kinds of stuff. And then Bobby took him to Sand Springs, and he's just continued to grow. Pretty cool.
When you look at this team that you're going to get back, the guys you will get back, and I mean, I know you're losing some really good offensive linemen, but you knew about that. What do you think the best base is? What do you think potential is for this group moving forward?
Well, if you have a quarterback, that's always pretty dang good. And Drew, and I've told him this, so I'm not talking out of school. When I left, my concern was quarterback. I knew we had a talented young man. I knew he was there, but oh my gosh, I got a lot of PTSD from playing sophomore quarterbacks. And so he had a fabulous year, and I think has set himself up for a great career. So I think starting with Drew and knowing that you have all three of those backs in the backfield back, there's some receivers back, there's some skill kids around. We're going to take a big hit because a bunch of those linemen were fabulous. And then we lose some guys on defense as well. It's not, cupboard's not going to be full, but I think we have key guys back that are going to be able to be what you need in a program when you're trying to build around them.
Have you ever in your life thought that you would see the Union, the Jinx, and the Broken Arrow job open at the same time?
No, that was as bizarre. That was a bizarre few days. Just to see how all that I've lived long enough for that to happen here in the suburbs. Yeah.
And now moving forward with all the dynamos and dynamics, because we'll talk about Josh in a moment, but Travis Hill's a proven coach.
Yeah.
See the guys that are going to be in 6A1. Holy cow. I'm excited. I want to start now. I can't wait to get to the season.
Well, it's the old proverbial, my old coach at TU, Tom Osowski, used to say to me all the time, only the names change, and that's pretty cool because we had really good coaches around. But man, the names have changed, and it is going to be a new dynamic. T. Hill has been successful everywhere he's been. Have been a friend for a long time. Obviously Antonio doing what he's done. The switch over at Jinx with Gaylor. He's been here long enough to know the lay of the land, and he's had experience before, but a dynamic defensive coach. So it's going to be interesting. What else is going to happen? And how are the pieces going to keep moving? As far as coordinators, and don't believe that the ripples have stopped rolling yet. And I am confident that we're going to see more of it. And there was a day, Rick. You can tell I'm geared up, but there was a day that everybody stayed where they were. Ron Lancaster was a Jinx guy, and Bill Blankenship was a Union guy. Whatever. And later on, Ron and Spav have been at BA, and I've been at Owasso, and the shuffling. I would have never dreamed that back in the '90s, and that these kind of things would happen. But I do think it's made high school football better.
Oh yeah.
And, Fred's been the staple for 18 years, of just being the one, constant, so to speak. And so it's going to be an empty spot over there, in terms of the guy we're used to seeing. But I'm happy for Antonio, and I know, he'll start making his way.
And Coach Fred has already said he wants to coach again, so I think we'll see him turn up somewhere else.
Based on my experience, he will. Because
who knows how soon?
Right.
The player movement will happen. That's happening now, where families are moving left and right. Anytime you're happy for someone, and as you said, you have to be for people who better themselves, then you're sometimes unhappy for somebody else. And that's what happened, obviously, with Travis Hill and Josh. Tell us how Josh is doing. I believe personally they had the tremendous setting for a really good group. And all you do in the interviews, he kept telling me, I'm really excited about the base of this group.
Yeah.
How's Josh doing? And what's the latest with him?
Well, I'll be honest. I think he's putting one foot in front of the other. He's doing the best he can. They have loved where they are, what they're doing. Lindsay has her business in town. They have, 7 kids, built a house, all the things that you do when you move in. The firing has been devastating. I mean, there's no short way about it. When I got fired at TU, I keep telling people that I literally don't remember today. I got fired on December 1st, and I don't remember anything between then and Christmas. And I don't think I went into a shell. But I mean, you're just trying to figure it out. And so that's where he is. And Rick, we've all been there at some point in time, but he's trying to figure it out. Lindsay's trying to figure it out. It's not an easy thing. I would tell you, that I agree with you because I was over there a whole bunch last year. The pieces are there. Yep. They returned 10 starters on offense, lost 1 lineman. There's some key pieces back. They lose a really good linebacker on defense, and a couple of good DBs and so forth and so on. And I mean, I don't know them well enough to say it like they should, but in terms of the program, they now have a winning 8th and 9th grade program. They have a much better youth program than where it was before. So it's coming. And I think Travis will benefit. His leadership ought to help them go to the next level, I would think. Hopefully it's just not quite as fast as I'm going to be around for him. at least once a season.
Yes, right. Well, you never know when you come and go.
Right.
So what will you miss about that 1 year in your retirement? Will it be the travel? Did Angie throw you out of the house a little bit? You got the grandkids a lot?
Yeah, it's funny. She has gotten used to going, where are you going? When are you? And I'm like, I used to have a little more autonomy to being gone, and now it's like I have to check in and out a little bit. But I think she's, the part that you always miss is just, well, I don't know about everybody else. I've kind of gotten where I don't like people telling me what to do, and so part of this deal is I'm back to, I'm going to have people telling me that I'm supposed to show up places, and do things. But there's also a point where, no. Anyway, let's just say you have a little more leverage at my age to be able to hang in there a little more.
Yeah, I got you. When I first started being home for the first time in 42 years in the morning, Christine said, I'm not sure I'm going to like this.
Yeah. Yeah,
It does take an adjustment
it
period.
does. Like doing these kind of things from the den from my office. I had an office, never used it. That was where we stored stuff.
Yeah.
And now I've been in the office a lot more these days, and
Yep.
I don't know. I like it. There's nothing about retirement I didn't like, other than I just think I'm made to coach, and I don't think I'm done yet.
I think we all agree with that. So, what are the first steps? I mean, it's not new to you. You've hit the ground running
Yeah.
already. You already said you're excited about it. So, what's your your schedule moving forward here?
Met with the staff, met with the players. I'm going to do individual meetings with players over the next two days this week and 4 next week, and try to meet with as many of them for at least briefly one-on-one as I can, just to in most cases for the juniors and sophomores, just kind of, let's get back and what are your concerns? What are what's your goals and all those kind of things, and how are we going to move together forward? And then there'll be a lot of kids that I have to meet still and haven't met them. And so that'll be a big thing for us. We're going to, spoken with Maddie, our strength coach, and our staff, and we're going to go full bore in January, but we're going to do a little bit of, we've been doing debriefing and exit meetings this week. They were already doing that. And we'll do some testing and some kind of intro level workout next week, but it'll be pretty light, just getting ready for really hitting it hard in January.
Gotcha. What's the best thing you think about stepping back on the field?
I don't have to worry about how somebody else is doing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just ready to go. I have not had. I will say this, Rick. I tried to fix a faucet outside. That cost me $600 from calling a plumber. I've tried to fix the dishwasher. That cost me a new dishwasher. I'm thinking that's not really my calling. And so it's probably good to be doing the stuff that you feel like you're good at. And I do feel like I'm good at it. Other people can argue that point with me, and they're fine with their opinion, but I feel good doing what I feel like I'm made to do. And so I'm like, it just feels like I've had a vacation. I'm back.
So, Bill Blankenship, handyman. That's not the
Not it, man.
that's not the one. Well, I know everybody's glad to have you back. Again, send my best to Josh, and we'll do this during the season if you're up for it again, just like we did before.
I imagine we will do that, brother.